Hey everybody, what's going on? It's James here, and I wanted to sit down and shoot an update video. I actually did this video, or a video like it, last night for my Patreon and Discord members, but I've had a lot of friends hit me up today saying, I guess the bear market's over, right? And so I wanted to do this video and, just kind of give you guys a different take on things. So if you remember, I did a video, I don't know when it was, a few months ago, last month something, and I was showing that how when we looked at Bitcoin versus money stock, it actually hit my targets for 2020, right? And I explained that part of the reason that I missed the bottom was because I was waiting for these targets to hit on a US dollar chart and they never hit. Now that's not an excuse. I should have adjusted my bias and just said, okay, it's not gonna happen versus getting married to an idea. But essentially we had this same thing happen in the previous bear market, where in 2015 it went up, had its drop, had the big dead cat bounce, and then actually went down and hit this target down around $200. And that's what I thought was going to happen in 2020 as well. I thought this would be a false bottom, that this would actually go down and hit this target. Now, earlier in the year, I had thought it was a bull market and it would retrace to 4,000. But once we got to March, that's when I really started to think this was actually like an A, B, C, and then it would go down to around 2,200. And that's really what got me in trouble. But if you look at the money stock chart, right, this is Bitcoin versus M1, then it did hit its target, which I talked about in the past. Look at that. A perfect touch of that 1.0 trend. And then it actually did consolidate on it, just like what I expected it to, like it did back here. Only in the US dollar chart it didn't show up. It was actually going up in value instead of sideways. And the reason is simple, is because they were printing trillions of dollars. So the dollar was actually losing its value. So yes, Bitcoin was going up basically because of inflation. Okay? Are you following me? I hope you're following me, because you've got to understand this to understand the next part. So the reason that's really important is because if you look at what actually happened on this drop on Bitcoin, I hate to erase all this because it's important, but okay, let me show you what actually happened on this drop so far, okay? If you draw a Fibonacci retracement from the top in 2017 to the bottom in May of this year, right, this month, see this? This was a perfect touch of the 61.8 golden pocket, and then it dropped, and look where it stopped, right on the 0.236. Okay, here's why this is critically important, guys and girls. If you look at a US dollar chart, there's almost no doubt that Bitcoin is in a bubble. There's almost no doubt that what we're seeing right now is probably the complacency phase where people think, oh, it's just got to go back up, which is why a lot of my friends are thinking the bear market is over, people that don't actually trade. And I'm not making fun of them. I'm saying that's what happens, right? Retail thinks, okay, this is it, the bubble popped, but it's all good. It's going back up now, whatever. If it's a US dollar chart and that's what rules the day, then that's going to be a complacency bounce, and Bitcoin's going to, probably have a bear market that lasts, anywhere from 12 to 18 months. But if this plays out off of money supply like it did last year, there's actually a legitimate reason to think that this bull market is just getting started. All right, let me show you this. If you look back in 2015, after it fell, Bitcoin came back up and retested that level on its dead cat bounce from the summer of 2014. And that was right here. I'm going to put an X on it. It was rejected, and it fell about 40% from there, right at 39.83%. And then this was people's last opportunity to get into Bitcoin before it ran up to $20,000 from right around 400 or 500 at the time. Okay, might have been like more like 700, whatever it was. That was right before. That was your last great opportunity before this thing went absolutely crazy. Well, here is our dead cat bounce in the summer of 2019, like this dead cat bounce in the summer of 2014, and right here would be the equivalent of right here, which means that yes, we would have expected some type of pullback. It's bigger than 40%. It's actually about 53%, but it is possible that this is just a shakeout and that we still have all that to go. Okay? And it's not just the similarities in the patterns themselves. It's got to do with supply and demand. If you go back and you look, what happened back here, this had this zone, right? So all the way through here, was chopping around that zone sideways, fell out of the bottom of it, came back inside of it, consolidated, broke out, retested it, and off she went. Basically retested demand. Now I want you to look at this. It's a little easier to see on a log chart. So in this case, we basically had something very, very similar. See this? So we peaked out at the beginning of it, just like back here, and then it started to consolidate, fell out of the bottom of it, came back in it. Here's the the retest of it, and then finally the breakout. So again, this right here would be similar to this right here if it plays out the same way. And if you look what happened, in this case, it basically came down, messed around inside of that demand zone and then popped out of it. And right now, see, this level back here on US dollars was like $6,000. That's where all that support, that demand was built back in 2018. And then it was again held up in 2019 before it finally collapsed, right? Well, so on a US dollar chart right now, we're looking at $35,000, $40,000 Bitcoin, whatever it is today. But versus the money supply, it's actually about where it was at when Bitcoin was around $8,000 or so. It's actually bouncing around this demand zone. So if it falls out of the bottom of this demand zone, then yes, it's going to flip to supply, and yes, I think it's going to go much lower, and that will help confirm that this is going to indeed be one of those long bear markets or crypto winters. But if this demand zone actually ends up holding, especially, here's what you're looking for, because everybody wants to know, well, what's the confirmation? Well, the confirmation is if we take out the all-time high, right? Which is, I know that seems kind of obvious, but the point is not to make crystal ball predictions. The point is to realize that this is possible. This is a legitimate possibility. I have not seen a single person, not one, talk about this other than myself. Not one other person have I seen compare this cycle to the previous cycle using money supply. So maybe I'm just a weirdo, right? And I am a bear. I am, under the impression we probably are in a bear market. We are, there's no doubt about it, but that is going to continue for another 6, 12, 18 months. But I also like to try to be objective and point out, look, there is a scenario where this thing does go absolutely, bonkers, and where my bear theory is just wrong. And that way people can judge for themselves. Which one do they think is going to happen? And they can take whatever action they feel is appropriate versus just, watching me and saying, well, James thinks it's a bear, so, I think it's a bear. No, don't do that. Go out and do your own due diligence. Take my ideas and try to go out there and validate them for yourself. Here's two different ideas. One of them is obviously the one that I, posted yesterday, where I think we're going to have this, crypto winter. And the other one is this one, where we take Bitcoin and measure it versus money supply, which, by the way, is a little bit sketchy now because money supply, the Fed stopped updating it earlier this year. So we're kind of using old data. We have the new data for Bitcoin, but we really don't know what the money supply is now. But this does make it look like it's demand. And again, it is entirely possible that if I'm wrong about this being a bear market, that we do have this final phase, which, by the way, totally okay with me if that's what happens. Right? I'm still holding some crypto. I did sell off about 70% of my portfolio, but the crypto I have left, if we have something like this happen, still be a really, really good day for me. All right. So I don't want to go off and do a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of other analysis. I just wanted to shoot this quick update and kind of give you the other side of the coin, because I had shot the video last night for YouTube, and then later in the night I thought, man, I really want to share this. I'm going to share it at Patreon. And then today I was feeling kind of guilty because I've had friends hitting me up. And it's like, I want to make sure that people, have both sides of the coin so that they're not making decisions without all the information. It's not my responsibility, but I'd still like to, do that. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to shoot this, and I hope you guys get something out of it. It is a different point of view that, I think is a legitimate possibility. All right. All that being said, please remember, I am just some guy sitting in a spare bedroom, which means that nothing in the video is financial advice. You should always go out there and do your own due diligence and seek out professional financial advice from a licensed financial advisor. before making any type of investment in cryptocurrency. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and again, don't forget to join the Patreon for just $7 a month. Supports the channel, gives you access to more frequent updates, and when we hit 500 members, it will also give me an opportunity to develop software just for members. All right, this is James with Crypto Common Sense, reminding you all to please trade safe.